So guys, today we're going to be talking a little bit again just about WNBA owners in general and how the WNBA were one of the reasons why I say they were not ready for the prime time is that we can see firsthand that the bad owners are what is going to really hold back this league, because there are enough billionaires willing to bankroll WNBA teams. And I mean that. They're willing to bankroll these teams because they know long-term they're going to be an asset. There are a certain number of owners that are either cheap, and you can see they're not getting any free agents because of it. Like the Mohican Sun tribe they can sell out TD Garden, but they put a stop saying, we're not getting a team in Boston. No, we're the only team allowed in the area, so they can continue to cheap out. You have got, obviously, the Sky owners. The owners have had to go one of two ways. They've had to either be like, oh, crap, we got to kind of do something about this. We gotta do something about this. Like the Sky owner, like Herb Simon, to be fair to him. Like Magic Johnson, who's part owner of the Sparks. Look, I don't think it's going to go well for the Sparks, because Magic Johnson is... I would not trust that man making basketball decisions, but still. And then you've got owners like all of these owners are making those decisions because they know they're about to hit a gold mine. They know that their competency is the difference between them 10xing and 30xing the value of their team over the next 3 to 4 years. And before we get on to that, though, if you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. We're trying to hit 40.2 thousand subscribers by the end of the day. But there are two owners in particular that I feel, yes, they're not full owners of the team, but they have come out and all they've done, in my opinion, is devalue their franchises. And first one is obviously Renee Montgomery. Or first one is, well, we were talking about the Mystics owner. I actually don't have a picture of her up, but the Mystics owner basically trying to diminish the reason why, like, she got community noted into oblivion. Like, you know, the Mystics made at 31% of their gate revenue from games Caitlin Clark played in. 31%, and they played her twice. And they had 31% of their gate revenue, which is a big factor because the TV deal is currently so low. The gate revenue is a big factor for profit. Just because Caitlin Clark showed up, they had that boom in gate revenue, and they had the most watched game of all time. But you would think, as the owner of a team, that, you know, you can get 20,000 people there when Caitlin Clark shows up, but when Caitlin Clark doesn't show up, you struggle to fill 3,500, 4,000 seats. You would think, how do I go about, for my team, creating enough buzz that we can do this more often? Maybe not every night, maybe not every game, or what can we do to create more superstars? Okay, how can we plan around this? Do we want to promote the league in a way? Do we want to try promote Paige? Do we want to risk having a 20,000 seater try to pre-sale tickets to see Paige? Or do we want to do everything in our power to diminish a 22-year-old? The Washington Mystics owner said, let's try to diminish this 22-year-old. You know what? Let's try to make it seem like she's not that special, so that next season, instead of getting her to have 33%, we can just put her in a 3,000-seater stadium. But the worst of all, the most egregious, was Renee Montgomery. And again, I don't know what percentage she owns of the Atlanta Dream. And maybe one of these if you invested in a WNBA team in 2021, that might have been one of the greatest investments outside of getting lucky with a meme coin or Bitcoin in 2013. Like, her investment, whatever investment she has made in the Atlanta Dream, has probably 20x'd. It's probably 20x'd in the last 3 years, and it's only going to continue to grow. The Atlanta Dream, 25% of their fans, because they couldn't get a 20,000 seater stadium to see Caitlin Clark, they could only do 16,000. So 25% of all of her team's ticket sales were playing against Caitlin Clark. They moved to a bigger arena for anyone else, just for Caitlin Clark. And what she said a while ago was even worse. She basically came out and said, we don't want any of these fans. They were fine taking their money. They were fine opening up their stadium and taking their money. But as soon as that dried up, she came out and basically said, yeah, we don't want any of these fans. We don't want any of these new people. We don't want any of the game-going fans. Why? because they've equated the 10-year-old girls that are in awe of Caitlin Clark and want to go see her to Jason Whitlock. And that's what they've done. That's what they've done. There are owners, journalists that are current players. All they've done is try to tear down the league. And I think it's an issue. I think it is genuinely an issue. Like, obviously here, Mystics owner won the entire WNBA on Caitlin's time cover. But like, that's even what she ended up saying was even worse. Like, she tried to basically diminish Caitlin Clark. And that's the problem, is that there is very little. You can see the difference between let's promote our players and let's tear down others. You're seeing what like the Psy family are doing. Like, they have turned the Liberty into arguably a bigger team, not like worth-wise, but in relevance, probably bigger than the Nets, which they also own. In terms of relevance, these players, the starting five for the Liberty, have their posters everywhere, are celebrities in New York. They are celebrities. They have done it right. They haven't tried to diminish Caitlin Clark. They have hyped up when Caitlin Clark comes to town, while at the same time promoting their own team. In fairness to the Aces, as much as I hate the Aces have done that. They are teams that can survive without a Caitlin Clark. Whereas the Dream's owner and the Mystics owner is like, let's not try to create superstars. Let's not try to build up our team. Let's tear down who we think is a superstar because we don't like her. Like, that is the mentality. That's the mentality the reason why the league has failed. And it's the likes of, again, the Psy family, a lot of new owners. I think, if anything, I think Magic Johnson, as much as I don't like his basketball decisions, I think if they can push that team in LA, like, you might get Flaujae. If you can get Flaujae to LA, like, that's your star. And the NBA, basketball is a sport, because there's only 5 people on the floor. It is built on stars. And Caitlin Clark, as much as there are stars, there have been stars. Caitlin Clark is the first megastar to ever play in the WNBA. You got to build around that megastar, because a megastar can create stars. And that is a fact. Like, I would say Kelsey Mitchell is a star. Very few people outside of hardcore WNBA fans knew who they were. People knew Sabrina Ionescu, people knew Stewie, people knew Aja, people would have known Brittany Griner, but like, people did not know who Kelsey Mitchell was. And just from being in the vicinity of Caitlin Clark and playing good basketball, she became an ultra celeb or superstar overnight. And the fact that not every team has to realize that, not every player has to realize that. Like, a player not realizing that or being against that is not going to affect anything. A Dejanay Carrington trying to realistically make herself the villain in the Caitlin Clark story isn't going to affect anything. But the issue is when owners try to stop the hype. Like, I've never seen anything like it before. It would genuinely be, I've never seen a league and a group of, or certain people harm their own pockets as much as some people in the WNBA. And it's one thing for players, they are on set salaries. And I've always said it, the reason why none of them, they all shut up when it came to Unrivaled, was they knew they had equity in the league. They knew if Caitlin Clark is in, their equity is higher. It's the reason why none of them spoke a word negatively about Caitlin Clark from the second they got announced for Unrivals. They refused to say a negative word about Caitlin Clark. Unrivaled, they refused to say a negative word about Caitlin Clark. Outside of Dejanay, who I think will just literally say whatever the hell she wants. Like someone as smart as Dejanay Carrington to literally get into Twitter beef with Dr. Philip Oliver Halls was a bit of a crazy one. But that is an issue. And like, even the players, almost all the players, if they have equity, they realize, okay, I'm not doing anything to harm my own money. It's a different thing, the players speaking out when they're on $60,000 a year contracts. Like, it's not rocket science to know. It's very different when you're risking $60,000 and risking millions. But these owners, again, she has more money than she'll ever need. She's a billionaire. And ironically, Caitlin Clark's 22-year-old, her charitable efforts already, again, I've just seen a list. There could be other stuff that is not known publicly, but is already greater than hers, despite the fact she's almost a billionaire. And then Renee Montgomery is somebody who, if the Atlanta Dream were a team, even if they had a Caitlin Clark, We're not even had a Caitlin Clark. Even they're a team that's going to be in the Juju Hidalgo sweepstakes, who could really boom in value. And if the Dream end up being good, if they get one of these superstars, their value is going to go through the roof. And then you've got an owner who I'm not sure wants that, because the reality of the situation is that she didn't say she didn't want right-wing media. She said, I'm not sure she said it. She implied that all new fans are bad. All the fans for Caitlin Clark are racist. Like, that's what was the implication from an owner of a team. Directly hurting pockets, because the reality of the situation is if the more you are a fan, and you're a fan of sport, and you're hearing owners, imagine being an Atlanta Dream fan, and imagine being a new fan. Imagine coming in and being a fan of Caitlin Clark, liking the Dream, cheering on Caitlin Clark when she plays, and then going to some Dream games, and suddenly it's you're getting called a racist by the owner of the team. You're probably not going to show up again, are you? And you just be a regular person. So anyway, yeah, that's the video. Again, the reason I'm making these videos, the reason I'm talking about this, is I think that this whole scenario is something that needs to just be, it's not going to, you're never going to get rid of it overnight. It's a phenomenon that needs to be nipped in the bud. And again, there are issues to speak up on, but Fever fans equal racist is something that time and time again, especially when they're at the games, is just puts a bad light on the WNBA. Like, again, when your star player is saying they're scared to play in Indiana because there's a bunch of 10-year-old girls in the crowd, it's a bad look in the WNBA. And whatever about coming from a player, I do think what she said was incredibly dumb. I think what she said was incredibly dumb, trying to diminish Caitlin Clark for a franchise that was incredibly dumb. I do think what Renee Montgomery said was dangerous for the league. And I do think when it comes to the WNBA, we're now almost at a breaking point where there are the franchises, the owners, the organizations that want to take it seriously, and then there's the ones that are happy with the status quo. And I think in these CBA negotiations, there are more good owners and good teams than bad teams. And I think you're going to see the likes of the Dream, maybe the Mystics. You're going to see 100% the Sun. In 10 years' time, I would be shocked if the Sun are not basement dwellers, the last place team in the W, because of how little money they want to put in. In the next 5 years, you're going to see the franchises that care do really well, their players become stars and skyrocket in value. And then you're going to see the franchises that are doing badly have their owners being told to sell the team every time at games, because this is a serious sports league now. Some owners know it, see the way it's going, and are investing in it, investing in their players, investing in the marketing to promote their players, and investing to make sure that when it grows, they are maybe not on top, because if they don't have a Caitlin Clark, but near enough the top. And other owners are cool with running it like it's a league that generates, I don't know, a couple of million a year, that we're happy with 3,000 fans, and not realizing the growth and the boom, and they're going to do everything to fight it. And I think there are a lot more owners that are going to embrace it, they're going to fight it, and the likes of Renee Montgomery, the likes of Sheila Johnson, they're going to realize pretty soon, there are hundreds of bad fans, but by turning away the millions because we don't want the hundreds, there's going to be a problem. Anyway, I'll see you guys.